Hey guys, so it is like Friday evening. I totally forgot I was supposed to film my mid-month wrap-up check-in, whatever I'm calling it. So the lighting's gonna be off and it is gonna be okay because I want to get through this quickly so I don't have to get out my lights. But anyway, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Monica. Let's roll the video. Okay, so let's do this. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 books, although 2 is going to be into 1. And let's just get into it. I did read more than that. Let me tell you what I read first. I'm at 15 books, and there was 1 DNF. No, excuse me. It wasn't a DNF. It was an unrated. And then like 3.5s, and I'm not talking about those. So the first one that I want to talk about is Whitney, My Love by Judith McNaught. Again, sorry about the light. Anyway, okay, so Judith McNaught's Whitney, My Love. I had the original version of this book. I gave it 4.5 stars, and there's reasons for this. So I really loved Whitney. She was completely crazy. I just loved her character so much. I loved the vibes that she was giving off. She was giving off, I am going to do what I want and you're not going to tell me who I'm going to love. And she gets a little obsessive to the point where it's weird about this guy named Paul. So her father, who really doesn't really care about her, sends her to France with her aunt and uncle. And in France, she learns to become a lady, but I mean, she wanted to impress Paul so much she learned how to ride a horse by standing up. I mean, that's dedication right there. Anyhow, you gotta remember, this is from 1985, and it was a very different time back then and stuff. Anyway, so there are a couple of things that did go on. There was a scene towards the beginning where she was being horsewhipped for being naughty with her fiance. Well, she didn't know he was her fiance at this point, and she was just being kind of a brat, and she admitted she was being a brat. Anyway, so that's one scene that was problematic, and I think that was edited out. I don't know. I haven't read the newer version yet. But also, chapter 24 is the you know what scene. The really problematic one that was eventually definitely edited out, and there was more put into this story. And yes, he does deserve jail for what he does. Whitney does need to mature and grow up a lot. But she's a very unique heroine. I absolutely loved her. She can speak all these languages, but she can't sew, she can't paint, she can't play the piano forte like all the other ladies, and she's very brash, and she doesn't mind flirting with all the guys, and the guys love her because she's beautiful, right? She has all these suitors in France where she's with her aunt Anne and her uncle Edward. She meets this guy, and she's just kind of she doesn't believe that he's a duke. She's just like, and this is at a masquerade, and she just calls him out on his bullcrap. She's called back from by her father back to England, so she goes back. She doesn't know that the guy who she called out for pretending to be a duke was actually a duke. His name's Clayton, and yeah, he made a deal with her father that he was going to be betrothed to her because he wanted her, and he didn't want her for a mistress. He wanted her for a wife. And he was completely obsessed with her. He had to deal with her infatuation with this guy named Paul and all her antics around that. And it is extremely messy. They're both very prideful and both very, very stubborn. And she would push his buttons and he would react in a really bad way. It was very crazy. It was very messy. I think both of them went a little too far. And yes, there's definitely problematic stuff in this book. I did really, really like the story, not the problematic parts. I liked the bantering back and forth that Whitney did with Clayton. I loved how they were both true to themselves and to each other, and I really loved Whitney's character. I really loved her aunt, and I loved her maid. Like, her maid was so adorable. I just really, really liked this one. Would Clayton's antics be okay in 2025, right? Would it be okay as a book? Well, yeah, in dark romances, it would be okay in dark romances. In historical romances or contemporary romances, it would not be okay. But in dark romances, sure. So take that as you will. I ended up giving it 4.5 stars because their antics and the way they were going back and forth with each other, it just went on too long. So that's why it wasn't a full 5 stars. But I really thoroughly loved my time in that book. And yes, I can see why it's problematic. And going in with that point of view really does help. Then this one was a reread, but I'm also going to talk about it because I read it first in 2021, and this is called Heartbreak by Lisa Kleypas. And I decided to read this one, and it was because we're doing a reread for the Ravenels now that we're done with the Hathaways. So this one I really hated. Kathleen, I really did not like her. She just irritated the living crap out of me. I did like Devon slightly better than Kathleen, but I loved Pandora. I loved West Ravenel. I loved Cassandra, Helen, and Reese Winterbourne. Oh my gosh, I love Reese in this book. And my original rating was 2.5 stars, and I rounded up to 3, although I felt like that was maybe generous at the time. I am so sorry about this. Anyway, let me see. Hold on. Let's see if this works. That helps. Okay. I was able to block it a little bit. I'm sorry about this. But anyway, then I was like, okay, I'm going to read this. I'm going to reread this. Fine, I'll reread this. I ended up really liking it. I gave it 4 stars. I bumped it up from 2.5 to 4 stars. I was shocked. Like, now that I've slightly matured as a person, I think that might have happened in the 4 years. Or maybe I've just read a lot of historical romances. I don't know what it changed, but I actually liked Kathleen and Devon in this book. I liked the banter between them, and I really liked how she didn't roll over when he was commanding things. I still really loved all the characters. I liked the plot, and I was surprised that I actually liked it this time around. So it only took me 4 years and a whole lot of snarky comments, because if you were ever in any lives with me and you would hear all the comments I would make, I'd be like, no. But alas, I liked it. I gave it 4 stars, and I guess rereading a book can be very helpful. So next one I read, and this was on one of my TBRs, my historical romance TBR for 2025, and it was After Midnight by Teresa Medeiros. So you can get it on...
Okay, that thumping you're hearing is Lulabelle's. She has decided to scratch her chin, and it sounds like someone's coming through the floor, but that's the way she does it. She's actually allergic to the state we live in. And, yeah, so that thumping is, Lulu. And it sounds like she is going to fall through the ceiling at any minute. All right, back to the video.
Ebook. I ended up reading this physically because I didn't want to pay for it. But they have this an audiobook. And I was like, oh, they have an audiobook. I can get. And then I looked and it was an AI voice. I was like, absolutely not. I was not going to do that. So I ended up just physically reading this. This is a physical book, and I gave it 4.5 stars. And this is about Caroline. She does everything she can to protect her sisters.
And here we go again. So what I was trying to say, and not saying it very well, is Caroline is the oldest of 3 girls. She has Vivian, who is in the middle, and then Portia, who I absolutely love, is the youngest. Portia is 17. All of them try to help each other out, as well as try to protect each other, because after their parents died, they honestly had they were poor, and their cousin who got the family estate is a jackass. So yes, that's what I was trying to say, and I was saying it very poorly, but anyway, go back to me talking some more.
Launched into society like she was supposed to, so she missed her chance, and so now at 24 she's firmly on the shelf. Vivian is in London with her aunt, and she has just had her debut, and she has the suitor, and his name is Adrian, and Portia swears that Adrian is a vampire, right? And Adrian, who's a duke, he like totally leans into this notion that he's the vampire because he has a gothic type castle. So she actually meets Adrian. Anyway, they have an instant connection and they really enjoy each other.
Here we go again. All right. So Vivian was dating or pursuing Adrian to help her sisters out because women in this time did not have options, but a duke would have opened up the doors for Caroline and Portia. So that's why Vivian was trying to play the martyr. Again, that goes along the characterization where they all did things to help each other. And I really liked this book. I really loved Julian. That's Adrian's brother. He is fantastic. And we find out if there's vampires, and if so, who's the vampires and all that jazz and all that stuff. And it was great. I enjoyed it. And I gave it 4.5 stars, and I loved it. And now I'm going to stop talking about this book and go to the next one, because obviously I am having a trouble talking in this video. So hopefully this is the last one you have to hear from me.
And then I got an arc of Empire of Seduction by Mila Finelli. This is a mafia romance. This is the second book in the series, and I gave it 4.5 stars. I had a lot of fun with this. I will say this, there's a lot of smut in this book. So Maggie and her brother owns a winery, and we met them in the last book, Empire of Temptation. They're in the Hudson Valley. So Maggie goes on vacation to get away. She has a one-night stand with this really hot guy at a casino. She comes back. Her brother had gambled away a good portion, 70% in ownership of their family's winery. And it is the guy who she had the one-night stand with, and he is a mafia boss, and his name is Vito. And she is pissed off that her brother did that, not rightfully so. So she actually takes it out on Vito and her brother Michael. So it went from one night stand to hate to love to, they couldn't get enough of each other. Vito and Maggie, they really clash over how to run this winery, and she did not know he was a mafia boss until the whole card game where her brother ended up losing a good portion of their winery. Both are very jealous around each other. So when girls look at him, she goes crazy. I mean, scissors crazy. There's a whole scene with some scissors, and he's like, touch her and I'll kill you type of vibe. So they both have that vibe with each other. Their chemistry is very hot. They fought a lot, and they had a lot of adventurous, sexy times. There's definitely some unhinged scenes. I don't want to give anything away, but there is a lot of character growth in this. We get to see a lot of the characters in Mila Finelli's Mafia world from the Kings of Italy series, as well as this series. And I really liked it. I felt like Maggie and her brother Michael's relationship was authentic. I enjoyed my time in this. I really liked how possessive Maggie was over Vito and Vito was over Maggie, and it was just kind of over the top, but just enough to be fun. There was a really good groveling scene towards the end, and I would recommend this one if you wanted to give it a go when it comes out. I liked it a lot. Then I got the ALC for At the Edge of Surrender by A.L. Jackson, and this was a 5-star. This is the first 5-star I had in this series. The rest were good. I gave them 4.5 stars, but they were not like this one. This one was a standout for me. This one is about Emery Voss. So she lost her twin sister, and it was ruled an accident by the police. To honor her sister's wishes, she takes her niece, who's 4 years old, to Moonlit Ridge to meet her biological father. Kane Asher is very morally gray in this, towards to darker gray. He will do whatever he can to protect other people. There's a lot of things he did that he truly regrets, and it comes to play in this book. He's part of the Sovereign Sanctum, which is the secret society. They used to be bikers, and now they're trying to help people, women and children, to get away from their abusers. So Emery, before she goes to his house to introduce Macy to him, she is in his bar, doesn't know it's his bar, ends up in a one-night stand with him. He did not know who she was. She did not know who he was. They figured it out real quick when the next day when she was standing on the doorstep with this 4-year-old, and she's like, this is your daughter. My sister, Emily, was killed, and she wants you to meet Macy. And so there's stuff surrounding her sister's death, and there's a really big traumatic event that happened in Emery's life, and some really big traumatic events that happened in Kane's life, and stuff that he did that he's sick about today. I can't really say more than that, and the reason why, there's a lot of twists and turns, and the romance is really well done. The character growth is fantastic. I loved Macy, a great little girl's character. I really liked Kane, and I really liked Emery. Emery was not a pushover. She's a badass heroine. I absolutely loved her. And you really need to read this one. You don't have to read the other two before this, but you really truly do need to read this one. It was a 4.5 stars towards the end, and then it just was like 5 stars. I had to give it 5 stars. And then I read Sea Swept. This is book 1 in the Chesapeake Bay saga by Nora Roberts. And this one was pretty good. I gave it 4 stars. This one is about 4 non-biological brothers, Cam, Ethan, Philip, and Seth. And they were brought together by Ray Quinn. Ray Quinn dies in a car accident. Seth is 10 years old, and so Cam, Ethan, and Philip, they come home and they take guardianship over Seth. They all had bad stuff happen to them in their past when they were kids. They were coming out of abusive situations, and Ray and his wife took care of them. This one's about Cam when he comes home and he takes guardianship over Seth with his brothers, Ethan and Philip. He meets Anna, who's the social worker, and Anna has a pretty tragic past as well, but Cam and Anna are very attracted to each other. This is where I suspend my disbelief, because the amount of trouble a social worker could get into for having a sexual relationship with a guardian of someone who's on her caseload is just, it's not worth it. And Anna is smart enough not to do it, but in this particular case, it's just fiction, so I let it slide. They were just gonna have a fun time. Cam wasn't always forthright with her, which caused a lot of problems, but ultimately it was a very interesting story. I enjoyed it, and I will be continuing on, not because of my Nora Roberts, I'm trying to read all her stuff, but because I'm actually interested in this series. I want to know more about Ethan and Philip and Seth. All right, the next book that I read, and I gave it a full 5 stars, was Home Run by Lulu Moore. I got the ALC for this. This is Surprise Baby, baseball and romance, and I adored it. So Tanner Simpson is he only had eyes for Millie from the moment that he was tackled to the ground by Secret Service men. Millie was thoroughly annoyed with Tanner for the most part. He's always trying to get her attention. He is always trying to pay her compliments, and honestly, Tanner is a catch because he makes a lot of money as a baseball player. He's very handsome. He's very charismatic. Everybody loves him except for Millie for some reason. She was very snarky. I loved it. And he just was like, oh, you're going to love me soon. And I just loved him. Anyway, we start the book with him picking her up from the airport when she was getting some stuff from her late father. Her father was killed in action because he worked for the CIA, and her mother was going to pack away some of his stuff, and so she went to get some of the stuff that were her father's. She was a very big daddy's girl, and that plays a lot into her characterization. And she's just super sad, and so when he takes her home, she's like, she didn't really want to get in the car with him, but she was just too tired at that point, mentally drained. And he listens to what she's saying and stuff, and they end up hooking up. And then she's like, oh my gosh, I'm one of those girls who hooked up with this guy, la la. And so she kicks him out. Well, 6 weeks later, she comes and is like, yeah, I'm pregnant. And he's like, okay. He was all in on this pregnancy. He's like, wasn't planning on becoming a father, but now I need to convince her that we should be together. And he was golden retriever cinnamon roll perfection. He took care of her, the caretaking he did for her. He knew exactly what she was craving and made sure she had it. Like, he listened to her, and he was there for her. He showed up for her when not everybody would show up for them. And I absolutely loved it. I loved him as a character. I loved that he went to her father's grave and asked his permission to marry his daughter. He listened to all the little things that were going on with Millie. And then Millie slowly gained a trust in Tanner to the point where she could actually admit that she really does love him. You have to understand with her being a daddy's girl and seeing her father always gone, that was going to play into some of the issues. But I really enjoyed it. I gave 5 stars and I highly recommend it. And then I read Bourbon and Proof and I gave it 5 stars. This one is fantastic. This is Hadley and Atticus, also known as Ace. This is the last couple in the Bourbon Boys series, and this one was teased a lot. So he's the oldest of the Fox brothers, and he's the one who's running the Fox bourbon brand. So Hadley and Ace, they pined for each other, and Ace always shut down their relationship for a reason, which we do find out later on why that reason is. He does a couple of little things that the readers know, but she will eventually find out. And they end up getting married for convenience because he needs to get married because Grizz was going to leave the bourbon company and distillery and stuff to all of his married grandsons. And Ace was the only one not married. And so Hadley is like, she's always had a crush on him. She was always in love with him. It was more than a crush. And he does have the same feelings for her, but reasons, and I'm not telling you the reasons why he doesn't go ahead and act on them, but he figures out that she needs help just as much as he needs her help so he can keep the business, but she needs help because of stuff her father did, and she really needs the protection, and so he sort of lets himself feel for her. And it took like no time once they were married for him to be like, yeah, I'm in love with you too. And there's a deep sense of community within this book series. The book series fantastic. I really liked the suspense plot in this. It was interesting. It was entertaining. I loved the romance. It was very well done. And so, yeah, you should go read it if you haven't read it yet. And then I listened to the last 2 books in the Shifting Fates series by Tessa Hale. I'm just going to put the third one on here. It's The Bond of Destiny, because first the second book, which is A Mark of Stars, that was really a bridge book. We were just seeing exactly what was going to happen next. So I started this book series in last month. This series as a whole is really good. It's a paranormal Wolf Shifters Why Choose romance, and I do recommend it. I loved the characters. They felt very different from each other. Each of her boys had their different ideas, their different plot lines, their different ways of speaking. Tessa Hale can write different point of views perfectly. I have not read one of her books where I felt like I was reading the same character just with a different name. I really liked our heroine, Rowan. We find out a lot about what happened to her, why she was adopted, and then why she has these powers and how the powers work with her and her mates, and she has 5 mates, and it's just so well done. I just really liked this book series as a whole. I gave each book 4 stars. I would recommend it, and it's better to go in blind than for me to tell you any more than that. So just go read it. And the last book that I'm going to talk about, and I finished it yesterday afternoonish, and it was A Royal Mile by Samantha Young. I got an ALC for this, and I gave it 4 stars. This one is about Sebastian and Lily, and they're in college, and they start out as enemies, and then they're friends, and then they're lovers. Now, Sebastian is a royal, and he's the grandson of a princess so his great aunt is the queen. Something happened in their past, and so she didn't like him very much, and then once everything gets cleared up, they really become friends, and the enemies to friends kind of happened a little quick, but okay. Sebastian fell for Lily first, and he really wanted to make things permanent with her. The communication in this book was really fantastic, especially after the 3rd act conflict, what stuff that happened. I really enjoyed the fact that there was no miscommunication in this, and no one jumped to conclusions and was an idiot. I absolutely love that. The plot was really good. I enjoyed this book. I mean, there was some slow parts in the middle. That's why it's not a perfect or 4.5 or 5 stars, but I really did enjoy this as a contemporary romance. And it was Shane East and Zara Hampton Brown, and they always bring it. And I absolutely loved it, and I would recommend it. So those are just some of the ones that really worked for me at the beginning half of June. Let me know if you are planning on reading any of these, or have you read them and what you think of them. And if you made this this far in this video and you want to let me know what you hear, please leave me a sun emoji, since we are getting close to dusk and the sun is not where it should be. Anyway, until next time, my friends, happy reading. Bye.